Buckle up, while everyone's busy chasing the next shiny meme coin, there's a digital asset that's been quietly positioning itself to dominate the entire global financial system. And you're about to discover why XRP might just shock the world overnight. While the broader cryptocurrency community obsesses over speculative tokens, viral trends, and get-rich-quick schemes, a dormant powerhouse is stirring to life. XRP, previously dismissed, ridiculed, and buried beneath layers of fear and doubt, has been silently executing what most other blockchain projects can only dream of: constructing genuine real-world financial infrastructure. As social media influencers rave about Bitcoin ETFs and utility-free social tokens, Ripple, the enterprise behind XRP, has been strategically positioned in corporate boardrooms rather than online chat rooms. They've been forging partnerships with central banking institutions, securing agreements with international payment processors, and establishing footholds across financial ecosystems spanning Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. This isn't about future promises, they're delivering results today. Just last week, with minimal mainstream media attention, a revolutionary cross-border payment system went operational. Money flowed seamlessly between nations in mere seconds. No processing delays, no antiquated SWIFT protocols, no excessive banking fees. Pure, unstoppable velocity, achieving 3.5-second settlement times compared to the 2.5 business days typical of legacy rails. But that breakthrough barely registered, did it? Because this narrative doesn't trend on social platforms or generate viral TikTok content. This represents quiet dominance, institutional authority, the type of influence that doesn't require retail market validation. It simply performs. XRP has transcended merely surviving the SEC legal challenge. It's transforming through the adversity. Each regulatory milestone is refining its competitive advantage. Once that regulatory transparency materializes, whether through legal victory, negotiated resolution, or fresh regulatory frameworks, XRP will emerge as among the first fully compliant digital assets within U.S. jurisdiction. Do you grasp the magnitude of this development? It means financial institutions can deploy it, investment funds can acquire it, government entities can officially recognize it. When that pivotal moment arrives, there won't be advance warnings or multiple opportunities. The transformation will be instantaneous. XRP doesn't need to ride conventional bull market cycles. It's not waiting for Bitcoin to signal direction. It's being strategically positioned to spearhead and power the infrastructure of tomorrow's financial ecosystem, not merely exist within it. This transcends market hype. It's about practical utility, foundational infrastructure, and unstoppable momentum. The kind that builds methodically, then explodes suddenly. When global liquidity rebounds, when authentic adoption accelerates and capital starts flowing freely, XRP won't just benefit from the wave. It could very well be the wave itself. If you're not positioned when this shift begins, you'll find yourself observing from the sidelines, wondering how you missed such a transformative opportunity. Let's directly confront the heart of XRP's controversy: the Securities and Exchange Commission litigation. In December 2020, U.S. regulators filed legal action against Ripple Labs, asserting that XRP constituted an unregistered security offering. The cryptocurrency ecosystem erupted in chaos. Trading platforms delisted the token. Social media personalities abandoned it. Market value plummeted. Market confidence evaporated. Most blockchain projects would have collapsed under such regulatory pressure. Most development teams would have retreated quietly, accepted defeat, and pivoted elsewhere. But Ripple chose a different path. They mounted a fierce defense. Over the subsequent 3 years, Ripple achieved something few observers recognized. They converted a legal catastrophe into a strategic competitive advantage. They assembled top-tier legal representation. They refused settlement negotiations. They pursued courtroom vindication. In doing so, they compelled the U.S. government to finally establish clear definitions for digital assets and their regulatory classification. This legal battle extends far beyond Ripple's corporate interests. It transcends XRP's market position. It's fundamentally about cryptocurrency regulation's future trajectory in America. Here's the crucial detail mainstream media won't emphasize: Ripple is prevailing. The story becomes even more compelling from here. If Ripple achieves complete legal victory or secures favorable settlement terms with the SEC, they'll become the first cryptocurrency company to successfully challenge the U.S. government in federal court. This would grant XRP something no alternative digital asset possesses: definitive legal clarity, regulatory protection, and institutional authorization. Picture a future where Bitcoin remains subject to congressional debate, Ethereum's security classification stays unresolved, and thousands of tokens exist in regulatory limbo. Meanwhile, XRP would stand as the singular token fully approved for deployment by U.S. banking institutions, hedge funds, money transmitters, and cross-border financial platforms. This represents more than legal vindication. It's a market transformation that positions XRP as the first mover in a trillion-dollar institutional adoption race. It converts XRP from speculative investment to regulatory-approved asset. The floodgates open for institutional capital to flow unrestricted, unafraid, and unhindered by legal uncertainty. That transformation could happen overnight. One news headline, one judicial ruling, one press announcement, everything changes instantaneously. While markets fixate on price movements and temporary meme token trends, Ripple has concentrated on the single factor that actually determines long-term viability in this space: regulatory clarity. Once that foundation is secured, XRP won't just achieve compliance, it'll become unstoppable. While headlines continue obsessing over Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum network upgrades, and meme coins that crash within 48 hours, something significant is developing beneath the surface that most people are overlooking. XRP isn't generating social media buzz. It's not the token everyone's discussing online. But that's precisely why it matters. Because while retail investors chase market noise, XRP is quietly being positioned as critical infrastructure. Here's what they're not telling you. RippleNet, Ripple's global payment network, is already operational across more than 70 countries with over 300 financial institutions connected. This isn't theoretical white paper content. This is a real, functioning, enterprise-grade network that banks and financial institutions actively utilize. We're talking about institutions processing millions of dollars in real time across international borders. Zero delays, zero intermediaries, zero hidden charges. Current RippleNet participants have processed over $70 billion in annual payment volume, representing a 1,729% growth in Southeast Asia alone since 2021. Ripple's on-demand liquidity (ODL) is revolutionizing the game. Here's the mechanism. Traditional cross-border payments require pre-funded correspondent accounts. Banks must lock substantial capital in foreign currencies, sometimes for days, just to facilitate money transfers. It's sluggish, expensive, and obsolete. ODL eliminates this inefficiency entirely. XRP functions as a bridge currency, providing instant liquidity in seconds. You can transmit dollars and receive pesos instantaneously with complete transparency. Banks are reducing cost by up to 60%. Money transmitters are cutting transaction processing times by hours. Ripple continues onboarding additional partners, not hype-driven projects, but actual financial players with genuine operational stakes. While most cryptocurrency projects still struggle to demonstrate their use cases, Ripple already has proven utility, addressing a real inefficiency in the global financial system worth $1.6 trillion trapped in correspondent accounts daily. But mainstream media won't report this. Why? Because it lacks excitement. There's no cartoon mascot, no billionaire endorsements, no overnight 100x price pumps. But that's exactly why it's authentic. Utility isn't constructed on excitement, it's built on adoption. And adoption is happening now quietly at institutional scale. Even central banks are taking notice. Countries like Bhutan, Palau, Montenegro, and Colombia have announced they're testing central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, built on Ripple's private ledger technology, powered by the same infrastructure that runs XRP. This signals something critical. Governments are no longer observing blockchain from a distance, they're actively building with it. And several are building on Ripple's foundation. Let that reality sink in. While 90% of crypto projects still struggle to get listed on exchanges, Ripple sits at policy-making tables with regulators and economic planners. This isn't hype, it's systematic replacement. Ripple isn't trying to participate in the existing financial system. They're reconstructing it entirely. If you're still evaluating XRP's value by weekly price movements, you're missing the bigger transformation. What's happening right now isn't about price action, it's about strategic positioning. When the regulatory switch flips, when regulators greenlight utility and institutions jump in, XRP won't need to beg for attention. It'll already be operational and in place. So the legal foundation is being established. The infrastructure is already operating across borders. But here's the question that really matters now: who's watching, who's moving, and what are they preparing for? Let's examine the data, not just candlestick charts or technical indicators, but what's actually happening behind the scenes. Right now, we're witnessing large transactions, multi-million-dollar movements flowing into XRP wallets linked to institutional holders. Not retail wallets, not random market spikes, but deliberate, calculated, silent accumulation. Here's the key insight: these wallets aren't sending XRP to exchanges. They're moving XRP off exchanges to cold storage, private wallets, and custodial vaults. That's not selling behavior, that's not speculative behavior, that's strategic positioning. Current data shows whale wallets holding 1M plus XRP have reached an all-time high of 2,850 wallets. with $915 million XRP moved into high balance wallets in a single April 2025 week. The timing isn't coincidental. Why would sophisticated players accumulate a controversial asset in silence while mainstream media continues ignoring it? Why would they make significant moves before the lawsuit is officially resolved, before the headlines shift positive? Simple, because by the time average investors realize what's happening, by the time XRP gains legal clarity, gets relisted everywhere, and becomes a CNBC talking point, institutional money will already be positioned. They're not betting on hype. They're betting on regulatory victory, enterprise adoption, and XRP becoming the bridge asset of a new financial system. Here's something else they recognize that most people miss. XRP is among the few assets engineered to scale at global institutional levels. It's fast, processing 1,500 transactions per second with protocol upgrades targeting 3,400 TPS. It's economical, costing less than a fraction of a cent per transaction at approximately 0.0002. It's energy efficient, using 99.99% less energy than Bitcoin or Ethereum. And it can handle institutional volume today, not someday. This isn't speculation, it's strategic preparation. Exchange-held XRP reserves are trending down 8% year-over-year, suggesting net accumulation in self-custody and institutional cold storage solutions. Now let's discuss market sentiment. Retail is dormant, crypto Twitter is ignoring it. The price appears flat compared to viral meme coins, yet behind closed doors, Ripple is expanding hiring across Asia-Pacific regions. They're launching new corridors for cross-border transactions. They're investing in projects tied to real-world assets and tokenization. Their leadership speaks at policy-level events, not just cryptocurrency conferences. Do you think this is happening accidentally? No, it's strategic, timed, and coordinated. When this compressed spring finally releases, when XRP gains clarity, liquidity, and access to institutional capital, there won't be gradual appreciation. It'll move rapidly because that's how genuine repositioning works, quietly at first, then all at once. You're not observing just another alternative cryptocurrency. You're witnessing a digital asset being primed to sit at the center of a multi-trillion-dollar liquidity infrastructure. The only remaining question is, will you be positioned before that transformation happens? Let's stop pretending this is merely about price charts. Let's stop treating XRP like it's another lottery ticket with a cryptocurrency logo attached. What's approaching isn't just another hype cycle, another bull run, or another round of speculation. No, this is systemic. This is structural. This represents a complete transformation in how value will move globally. And you guys, I have a special trick for you which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BTCC exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus, and now stay with me here. Now here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange, and you move it to your newly created BTCC account, you get on top of your capital, you moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, if you move or deposit a 100K to your account, you get 10K for free. I'm not kidding, I really don't understand why nobody is doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I mean, like, I cannot make that account for you, will need to that yourself. Alright, let's jump back into the video. In that transformation, XRP isn't requesting permission. It's not waiting to trend on Twitter. It's not seeking validation from influencers or exchange listings. It's waiting for one thing exclusively: clarity. Regulatory clarity, so institutions can finally act without hesitation. Institutional clarity, so the world's financial leaders understand which infrastructure to trust. Market clarity, where legacy systems finally step aside for something faster, cheaper, and built for the digital age. When that clarity arrives, whether through final court decisions, ripple effects from global partnerships, or formal policy shifts, it won't come gradually. It won't provide time for preparation. It'll be immediate. A catalyst, a flip, a floodgate bursting open. Dams don't leak when they break, they erupt. That's what XRP is preparing for, a shift from controversial altcoin to global settlement standard in a single moment. When that moment hits, XRP won't move because of hype. It will move because it's been positioned, engineered, and designed from the ground up to operate at levels where hype doesn't matter, but trust, speed, and scalability do. Here's the truth: markets don't reward emotion. They don't care about who shouted loudest or posted first. They reward positioning. While most retail investors are distracted by meme coins, NFT drama, and viral trends that disappear within a week, the people who understand real finance, institutional money, sovereign liquidity, macro flows, they're not gambling. They're strategically allocating because they understand what history has consistently shown us. When systems change, the masses don't receive warnings. There's no newsletter, no viral video, no countdown timer. Systems change once quietly, then permanently. XRP is being positioned at the very center of that new system. A bridge asset between old and new, between central banks and blockchain, between fiat stagnation and real-time global liquidity. It's not competing in a popularity contest. It's here to solve a trillion-dollar inefficiency, and it's already proving it can deliver results. Bloomberg Intelligence assigns 95% approval odds for a spot XRP ETF by year-end 2025, with expected first-week inflows of $85.120 million. Corporate treasuries are beginning to recognize XRP's utility, with companies like Webus International filing to raise $300 million debt specifically to buy XRP as working capital bridge asset. If you've been doubting XRP because it's not trending, because it's not flashy, because it's endured legal battles and market doubt, that may turn out to be one of the most expensive mistakes you'll ever make. Because throughout history, the most powerful plays aren't obvious. They don't beg for attention. They don't scream hype. They move quietly, strategically, consistently until one day they flip everything. Ignored, dismissed, laughed at, until they're not, until the narrative shifts, until the rest of the market awakens and realizes it was never about hype. It was always about infrastructure. It was always about utility. XRP is not getting ready, it's already in position. So here's where we stand. You've just heard the developments no one is discussing, the strategic moves happening behind closed doors, the legal clarity on the horizon, the infrastructure quietly locking into place, the institutional money loading up before the transformation hits. Now you're faced with a decision. You can scroll past this content, return to chasing short-term pumps, keep watching content about meme coins and wait for someone else to tell you when it's time. Or you can recognize the pattern, see the positioning, and realize that XRP isn't just another altcoin, it's a strategic asset being prepared for a global financial role most people aren't ready to accept. Because here's the truth. By the time media starts talking about XRP again, by the time your favorite influencer becomes bullish, by the time it's featured on Bloomberg, Forbes, and CNBC, the opportunity will already be behind you. The biggest moves in cryptocurrency and in history don't happen when everyone's watching. They happen in silence, then all at once. Ask yourself, when XRP flips the narrative, when it breaks through legal resistance, gains institutional access, and becomes the default bridge for global liquidity, will you be watching from the sidelines? Or will you already be in position, early, informed, and ready? That's why we're here, not to hype but to warn, to inform, to prepare, because this moment won't come with fireworks. It'll come with a headline, a ruling, a trigger, and by then it will be too late to react. If you've made it this far, then you already know you're not average. You see beyond the noise, you think long-term, and you're ready to act when others hesitate. Call to action. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell like your financial future depends on it. Because when XRP shocks the world overnight, and trust me, it will, you'll be glad you didn't wait for permission. You'll already be positioned while the rest of the world scrambles to catch up.